The humble hatchback is often seen by many people as a go-to option for their next new car. It's because they are able to offer decent levels of practicality, low running costs, but they don't come with an overtly large exterior size. They're still easy to park and easy to live with too. Now today we're looking at three contenders in the hatchback segment. We've got the Volkswagen Golf, which is now into its 8th generation and brings a premium look and feel with some clever new tech. We've got the new Toyota Corolla, which has hybrid efficiency at its very core to help deliver good fuel economy and low emissions. And we also have the Ford Focus, which of course is a family favourite and continues to offer great levels of practicality. Today, we're going to see what each car has to offer and why should you consider them as your next new car, even if you're looking at something out of this market like a crossover or a mid-size SUV. Well, that's what we're going to find out today. The design of the Focus has evolved over time, and this latest generation car is by far the sharpest looking yet. This particular car is an active version, which is why it's got some roof rails and some slightly chunkier bumpers, but all cars get plenty of equipment. You might notice that the Ford badges have been moved from the nose and into the grille, which is a theme that has been applied across the Ford range. Overall, the Focus continues to be a very good looking car. I go so far to say as the Corolla is one of the more exciting looking hatchbacks on sale today. It's really futuristic and, well, how will that do over time? Only time will tell, but as we are now, I think it's a very smart and well executed look overall. This particular car is a GR Sport, so it does benefit from slightly revised styling and larger alloy wheels, so it's a good option if you want to make more of an impact. But even in its standard specification, the Corolla is a very eye-catching model. The Golf is still, well, it's still a Golf in terms of design. It's definitely evolved over the years, but it's still very much recognisable as Volkswagen's more popular model. The front end is more distinguished than before, and many cars get a full width light bar, which makes it look particularly stand out at night. Overall, it's a smartly finished design, but it's one that is in keeping with the history of the Volkswagen Golf. The Focus's interior provides a very pleasant place to be. I've got plenty of adjustability, so I can get my driving seat positioned just as I like it each and every time. And actually the material quality by and large is pretty good, although there are some scratchier plastics here and there, and particularly around the gear selector, this material here doesn't feel all that good. Now the bulk of the controls for the Focus are centred within the main display, and that's everything from the navigation right the way through to the heating and ventilation controls. Now by and large they're easy to get along with, and in fact this is probably one of the slicker systems that you can find on the market today, but I would like a couple of separate controls for the heating and ventilation, because getting through to the certain functions can be a little bit tricky just when you're on the move. However, if you stop stationary, get it all set up first and then head off, then that'll get around that issue. When it comes to the back seats, there's plenty enough space, and in fact you've got ISOFIX points on the two outermost seats, so putting in those car seats should prove nice and easy. I can find that because of the tapered roofline, you can feel a little bit cocooned in the back of the seats, but this is only a minor niggle. And then when it comes to boot space, you've got 375 litres of room to make do with, and that's only 5 litres short than the boot that you'll find in the Volkswagen Golf. There's a slight load lip to contend with, so that's something to bear in mind if you are often putting heavier items in the back of your next car. The cabin of the Corolla is definitely characterised by its great material quality. I'm actually quite impressed by how well put together this car is, and we've got some nice materials throughout and everything feels reassuringly solid. We've also got a very large screen in this car, and as you might notice in our full review, which you can check out on Motors.co.uk YouTube channel right now, the icons and graphics are a little bit rudimentary, but overall it's nice and easy to use, and it's backed up by independent controls for heating and ventilation, which, as you may have known by now, I quite like because they're easier to use on the move. When it comes to the rear seats, we've got ISOFIX points on the two outermost seats, and in fact there's not too much of a transmission tunnel, so you can get 3 people sitting abreast there in relative comfort. The raked roofline might impede taller passengers, however, but for more average sized people, then there's going to be enough space for most of the time. When it comes to the boot space, there's 361 litres there as standard, which means that it's slightly shy of the other cars that we've got here today, but it's still very accessible and it's still useful on a day-to-day basis and will be more than enough for the daily shop or a trip away. The interior of the Golf is nice and practical, and it's smartly finished too. I do find these plastics, though they're hard wearing, are a little bit cheap and nasty, but up top you've got some nicer effect materials and some rubberized top sections which give it an overall more premium feel. I like the fact that the steering wheel has plenty of controls on it, and as I've mentioned in the full review of this Volkswagen Golf, which you can check out on the Motors.co.uk YouTube channel, the screen is a point of contention for me just because it takes so long to wake up when you first start the car, and that's a particularly annoying factor to think about when it's a chilly morning. However, overall space is good, and in the back there's plenty of headroom and there's plenty of leg and feet room even for taller passengers. Though it's worth mentioning that there is quite a large transmission tunnel, so that person who is sitting in the middle is going to get quite the short straw. There are ISOFIX points on both exterior seats at the back though, so you can fit child seats with ease. When it comes to boot space, there's 380 litres as standard, which, as I mentioned, trumps the Focus by 5 litres, so this is definitely a good option for those who need the best outright boot space. The Focus has pretty much always been seen as the baseline for the hatchback segment. Now, the famous original broke the mould for hatchbacks because it was really good to drive, but it was also very practical and easy to live with, and I'd say that's still filtering down into the car that we've got today. Okay, it might not be as popular as it once was, and in the monthly list of bestsellers it's routinely usurped by its younger brother, the Puma. But the Focus remains one of the better hatchbacks on sale today. The one that we've got at the moment is powered by a 1 litre turbocharged mild hybrid engine. And it's really impressive how flexible this car is, given how small a capacity engine it's driven by. Of course, efficiency is a big bonus with this engine. You're getting up to 54.3 combined, and that means that fuel bills aren't going to be too much of a worry when you're driving this particular Focus. But as we come to expect from this car, it's the steering that really shines through. It does have a slightly rubbery sensation to it, but it's really nice and direct, and you can tell exactly what the front wheels are doing. It remains a class leader in the dynamic section, that's for sure, and it's still quiet, refined, and comfortable, most importantly. And even though the manual gearbox is becoming something of a rare sight on the new car market these days, the 6-speed manual that we've got in this car is very pleasant to use. It's nice and accurate, it's coupled with a light clutch, and that means its action is easy to get along with, and if you're driving this car for the first time, it's not going to take you too long to get up to speed with it, because the controls are nice and intuitive and the right way that you want them to be too. I also like the digital dashboard that we've got on this car because it makes all of the readouts really clear and easy to see. And I've also got plenty of adjustability for my seat, so I can get nice and comfy at any given moment. The Toyota Corolla occupies a slightly alternative area in the hatchback segment, but it's a car that has proven very popular with many buyers, mainly down to Toyota's excellent reputation for reliability. In this car, we've got a 1.8 litre hybrid system. Now, this is a regular hybrid, so there's no option to plug it in. It merely blends the electric and petrol power together to make things as efficient as possible. Now, with 138 brake horsepower, you should see 0 to 60 in just under 9 seconds, so it's not exactly quick, but the real focus here is on efficiency, which is why Toyota claims that you should be able to get around 61 mpg on the combined cycle. Plus, CO2 emissions of 105 grams per kilometre means this is going to be a really cheap car to tax. And in fact, it's those lower running costs which are why so many people are attracted to the Corolla in the first place. What's it like to drive? Well, the car that we're in today is a GR Sport version, which means that it gets larger alloy wheels, slightly revised suspension setup, and that means this car isn't quite as comfortable as the regular Corolla. The Volkswagen Golf has established itself as a family name over decades on sale, and now we're into the 8th generation car, which is quite hard to believe, really. This latest version is by far the most technologically advanced yet, and it's definitely angled towards efficiency and good economy. This car in particular is an ETSI, which means that it gets a 1.5 litre turbocharged petrol engine, and that's coupled to a 48 volt mild hybrid system which aims to help with efficiency. Now, with 148 brake horsepower, it's got more than enough power for most occasions, and if you want to check out our full review on how this car is to drive, then you can head on over to the Motors.co.uk YouTube channel, where you'll find our standalone review of this Golf. As a traditional hatchback, the Golf still ticks so many boxes. It's comfortable, it's refined, it feels easy to drive and easy to get along with. And particularly on this car, with its smaller wheels, it has a really pleasant ride, and that makes this car a lot more relaxing to drive on a day-to-day basis. And when you couple that With good efficiency and plenty of practicality, you have a pretty compelling package. And that's probably why so many people, in fact millions of people, have opted for the Golf over the years. It feels like this latest generation is only going to build on that and take things one step further. The three cars that we've brought here today are a great example of the kind of variety that you can currently get in the hatchback segment. And it really flies in the face of the popularity of crossovers, because all three cars here bring something different to the table. The Focus continues to offer that kind of practicality that you want from a small hatchback, while the Corolla has those low running costs and low emissions that you'd expect from a hybrid powertrain. And the Golf, well, the Golf continues to bring that premium feel and a refined driving experience that makes everyday driving just a little bit nicer. In truth, I think each car here brings something slightly different to the table, and it means that you can tailor the car you want to the type of driving that you're doing. It does mean that there's still an option out there for everyone, and it means that I still think the humble hatchback has a place on our roads today. Thank you for staying with us during this Motors triple test in this fantastically awful weather. Now, if you have enjoyed this video, please leave us a like below and let us know in the comment section what you think of these three cars. Would you pick any one of them, or would you opt for a crossover instead? And since you're here, as always, please remember to subscribe to the Motors.co.uk YouTube channel and hit that bell icon so you're notified every time we upload a new review.